Good evening, Yorktown. This is Supervisor Matt Slater. Welcome to our coronavirus update. Tonight is Thursday, May 14th. I wanted to provide just a few updates before we begin our conversation today with our great panel. New York on pause is set to expire tomorrow. Yorktown is in the Mid-Hudson region. The Mid-Hudson region remains short on its metrics. We've only completed 5 out of our 7 metrics. So the expectation is that when New York on pause expires tomorrow, we will still be in the same situation that we are today. It is a phased reopening process. Phase 1 being construction and manufacturing. We're going to share, there's a new document from the state government. We're going to share on our website that provides some details as to exactly what qualifies into each phase. So we are getting greater direction, but right now, Mid-Hudson region, which of course includes Putnam, it includes Dutchess, it includes Sullivan, Ulster, Orange, and Rockland, remains short on the required metrics that is being required by the state of New York. Earlier today, I was joined by our Reboot Yorktown Task Force. In anticipation of the reopening process, we've put some forward-thinking policies into effect here in the town. The 2 that we highlighted today, expanding outdoor cafes, outdoor seating for all of our restaurants and eateries. We're actually going to we've streamlined that process. So you no longer have to go before the planning board, which usually takes about an 8-week process, as well as a fee upwards of $650. We've eliminated the fee, and we are allowing applicants to go directly to the building department. And so we've trimmed that process down from about 8 weeks to a week. And the same goes for our retail in commercial zones to help. These are called sidewalk sales. And we're providing the same streamlined process. Rather than going to the planning board for a special use permit, we've suspended that process, and an application can be put before the building department. Again, trimming that down from an 8-week process to about a 1-week process, and eliminating the fees associated with that application. Today, we distributed masks for our seniors in the town of Yorktown. I want to thank Senator Pete Harcum, who joined us, and Vidat Ghashi, our county legislator from the 4th District. It was a very successful event. I want to thank all the town employees who helped us. We handed out nearly 1,000 masks to our seniors, which is great. These were masks that were donated by Hanes. These are reusable masks, and we've been doing our best to get them out to our small businesses that remain open, our seniors and vulnerable neighbors. Tomorrow, we're going to be at the Jefferson Valley Mall. There is no restrictions on our mask distribution tomorrow. You just have to be a Yorktown resident. We're going to be distributing those masks from 1 to 4 at the Jefferson Valley Mall over by Sears. We're going to have a traffic pattern set up so that we try to keep it as organized as we can. Everyone needs to stay in their cars, and we will provide masks as you drive up. If you can bring your license or some other proof of residency. Again, this is just for Yorktown residents. I also want to let folks know that we only have a limited supply. We were given about 10,000 masks by the county, and we have close to 37,000 people who live in this town. So clearly we don't have enough for everybody. So we appreciate your patience and understanding. But tomorrow from 1 to 4 at the Jefferson Valley Mall will be our next mass distribution. I also want to let folks know some more bit of good news, actually. The planning board has given final approval for Nestle Water. Nestle Water is going to be taking over the old Verizon building off of Route 202, which has sat vacant for quite some time. Nestle is going to be providing, using that space, renovating that space and using it for their water distribution center, their regional water distribution center. So we are seeing some positive steps forward as we, again, look to reopen our economy. But I just want to emphasize, as we said today at our press conference, we have to be smart and we have to be safe. And if we're smart and we're safe, then we'll be successful. The last thing we want to do is overshoot our reopening and put people at risk. And that's been a great concern of our leaders, both locally on the county level and, of course, on the state and national level. So I want to get into our panel tonight. We started a little late, and I apologize for that. We have a very important panel, I feel, and I thought it was very important for us to have a a conversation about food security. Food security in the town of Yorktown, people don't really think about it. Everyone thinks that there's no issues with getting a healthy meal. Obviously we live in a very fortunate community, but fact of the matter is there are many of our neighbors who are in need. And food security, both locally and regionally, is becoming a very significant issue and something I think that the town of Yorktown really needs to acknowledge and bring to the forefront as we continue to grapple with the aftermath of the coronavirus. And so I'm joined tonight by a number of great people. I have Dave Humphreys. Dave Humphrey runs the Yorktown Community Health Food Pantry, which comes out of the Albert A. Cappellini Center right here in Yorktown Heights. We have Catherine Fraze and Pastor Chip Lowe from the First Presbyterian Church. They have a food pantry that they run as well. Our good friend Cindy Smith from St. Mary's Food Pantry up in Mohegan Lake off of Route 6. And our friend Faith Ann Butcher, who runs the United Way of Westchester and Putnam County. Folks, thank you so much for joining with me tonight. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Why don't we quickly just go around, if we can, starting with Dave, just giving a quick synopsis of your food pantry, what type of services you traditionally provide, and when you provide them, and if you've seen, and I know we were having this conversation before we started, if you've seen any increase in need during these challenging times.
Yorktown Community Health Food Pantry is the oldest pantry in Yorktown. I'm told it started in the mid-'60s, and it's been running ever since. We distribute food to Yorktown residents only. That was the way it was chartered. And we distribute once a month, and we distribute canned and dry goods we're about 100 households, maybe a little less than that, 90 households here in Yorktown. And prior to the virus, we were actually seeing our client list starting to shrink a little bit in the last year or so, which was great. But now it is ticking up. We're seeing some increases, not so dramatically for our pantry yet. We have a distribution coming up next week, and we're kind of interested to see how much of an increased demand we get there. But I think because, this pantry is once a month, we're not as large and obviously easy to get to as the other pantries here on the panel, which are seeing dramatic increases. So,
Dave, if people wanted to support your food pantry, what's the best way of doing that?
Any donations? We buy most of our food, and so cash donations are the easiest thing for us to place orders. And as you mentioned, we're at the community center here in town. It's Yorktown Community Health, and the address there is 1974 Commerce Street. And we have, again, being a long-term pantry here in town, we have a lot of support from a lot of the organizations in town, Lions, Elks, multiple churches that don't have their own pantry, Scouts. Just a great outpouring of help that comes in to us traditionally. Fantastic.
I want to bring in Catherine and Pastor Lowe from the First Presbyterian Church. Can you tell us a little bit about your food pantry and any increase that you may have seen, or what the response has been since the coronavirus has really tackled our community?
Sure. So the First Presbyterian Church has run a food pantry for roughly 30 years. We operate twice a month. Historically, that's been from 9 to 11 on the second and fourth Saturdays of every month. We now operate from 8 till whenever we clear the line. We provide non-perishable food, eggs, meat when we can get it, produce when we can get it. And then once a month, we provide diapers for our clients. And the other pantry of every month, we provide elder care products, Ensure, Depends, things like that, on the notion that those are necessary expenses that take cash out of a household and indirectly relate to food security. So we have seen a number of changes. One is we've gone to a drive-by model, so our clients never exit their cars. We pre-pack the bags, we load the bags into their cars. The quantities are scaled to the size of the family. So that's one change. From a volume perspective, most of the time we see about 100 families per pantry. We're now up to 240 per pantry, and we have enrolled 155 new families over the last 3 pantries. So we're seeing new clients that we've never seen before. There's been a lot of conversation about, I'm so glad you guys are here, but I really wish I could get my job back instead.
Right.
So it's clearly Corona related.
Right.
But the support from the community has been terrific. As Dave mentioned, the Lions, the school districts, a lot of individual contributions. And I have to give a shout out to Feeding Westchester. Without them as a source of most of our food, we would not be able to operate. Mm-hmm. We do augment that by buying some food and supplies retail, but the vast majority of it comes from Feeding Westchester.
That's great. That's absolutely terrific. And if someone wanted to donate to your organization, whether it's monetary or perishable goods, what's the best way for them to do that?
So 2 things. One is monetary is great because it allows us to then shop more efficiently. They could send a check to the church and simply write food pantry on the memo line. Individual contributions, we have a matching fund that will match at least some of those contributions as well. If they prefer to donate tangible items, there are bins set up both in front of the building and behind the building. What we are most in need of right now is breakfast cereal or anything for breakfast and paper bags.
Paper bags.
Paper grocery bags.
Okay.
We're just to build on that a little bit. We're also able to take donations online. They can go to our website, fpcyorktown.org, and click on giving, and it'll take them to an opportunity they can give online if they don't do checks, which some people don't do.
Right.
And there's a pantry option that they can select to make a donation, and that will be added to the fund as well. I want to just also offer a word of thanks to the Lake Mohegan Fire Department. I'm the chaplain there, and they have both had a food pantry drive for us and also opened up some space for us to store some food. When 9,000 pounds of food is delivered to our church, the challenge is to figure out where to put it.
Yep.
And they were very helpful to us, so we're thankful to them.
So when you get that 9,000 pounds, that's coming from Feeding Westchester. Is that correct?
Correct. And it went out the door the next day.
Wow. 9,000 pounds of food.
I think maybe that's helpful just to get a sense of scale.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to. I really think we need to bring. Like I said to you earlier, I think we need to bring that to the forefront in our community. Is the need, and 9,000 pounds that's brought in and given to people the next day. I mean, that's shocking, to be honest with you, even for me. And I've had this conversation with Faith earlier today about some of the statistics about food security in our community. But I think it's important for people to understand and get behind how to help.
So one other thing I want to just a little shout out to, one of our church members had a drone and took a aerial shot of us running the cars through our parking lot. So you kind of get a perspective not only of our property, but certainly of how we're having to put cars in the queue to move them through. So it was a really helpful way of seeing the long line, and that's on our website as well.
Awesome. That's great. Faith, how you doing over there?
I'm good. I'm great. So I have a little bit of a different thing. So if you don't mind, and I apologize, but can St. Mary's go first? And I apologize. I don't remember your name. I apologize.
No problem. Yeah,
I have more of an overview, and I also have resources for you guys. So if I could
Yep, no problem. Cindy, how are we doing over there at St. Mary's?
We're doing good. We're feeding a lot of people. It's kind of the same thing. Our normal numbers are somewhere between probably 90 and 110 families. Last week we were just under 300, under 400. I think we had 365 families come through. It's a monumental task because typically before the coronavirus, we were a choice pantry. So we were set up kind of like a mini grocery store, and people came in and picked the food that they needed. But same as First Presbyterian now, we've gone to a drive-through model. So we spend Fridays packing bags and sorting food and packing bags, and Saturday distributing. 2 weeks ago, we got about 10,000 pounds of food on Friday, and I'm going to say that 9,000 pounds of that went out the door on Saturday. We are fighting to keep up.
Yeah, those are just staggering. Those are just staggering numbers to think about for people.
The generosity of the community has been unbelievable, both in food and cash donations. It's just been staggering what we've seen. So we're extremely, extremely grateful for that. And the plan
That's
is
great to hear.
Going as long as we can. We've been here for over 30 years. So
now, if people want to donate either goods or monetary donations, best way for them to do that?
They can send a check. They can make an online donation. Food donations, they can come any day between probably 10 and 5. We have a deck box outside the door, and people can leave the food donations there if they don't want to be in contact with anyone. I check that every hour. Or they can bring them on Friday when people are here. We're here now on Fridays from about 11 to 3. If they want to drop them off when someone is here. And the pantry right now is operating on Saturdays from 8 to 11.
Fantastic. And again, I want to thank all of you for your incredible leadership and helping so many families during this really trying time. Faith, you wanted to jump in and have some discussion about, you had some overviews, you said, and some resources possibly.
Yeah. So number one, typically, or I should say back in 2016, because our 2018 numbers are coming out in like another week, but 30% of the Yorktown population was either living paycheck to paycheck or in poverty. Right? With COVID happening, the paycheck to paycheck became poverty because they were no longer getting a paycheck. And, collecting unemployment is, and I apologize.
Very challenging.
It's not stable. It's challenging to get on. And I see that even within my own family, that just because you're eligible for it doesn't mean you can get onto it. So there's those options too. And even though the governor says you'll get your money, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it now.
Right.
And typically only 68% of the population doesn't have savings more than $500 when they are working. And when you have been out of work for 6 to 8 weeks, that has been depleted a long time ago.
Right.
And what we are finding, United Way, Westchester and Putnam handles the call center for the United Way's 211 helpline. And we found that in all of 2019, we only had 4 calls about food insecurity in all of Yorktown.
Yep.
And in between March 1st and May 12th of this year, we've already gotten 12 calls. And from 2019, March to May, we had gotten 1 call. That's an 1,100% increase in calls. And that's, that's just a 211 thing, but it's at least a trend that we can actually, mark and everything like that. So we are definitely seeing a jump. Again, a big shout out to Feeding Westchester. They have been incredible about supplying food and providing mobile food pantries when needed. And they're working. I do know that the National Guard is planning on, they're leaving the morgue and cleansing in May. They're leaving feeding programs in June. So that's very telling also, is that they're not planning on leaving Westchester in the feeding program until June. Wow. So they, so we know that that's going on. And after that, Feeding Westchester is going to need help with volunteers and everything like that. So just going to throw that out there. But the big thing that I want to let everybody know about is that United Way administers the local emergency food and shelter program, which is actually a federal program, but gets whittled down, to us. And right now for Westchester, we actually have a bucket of $911,000, which we've never gotten before, that large of an amount. And so for the food pantries themselves, I want you to know that these are funds that you can apply for to help get you more food and everything like that. And if you don't apply for it directly through yourselves, you can ask Feeding Westchester to be your fiscal agent and apply for you if you're not directly a 501c3. So we do have that. However, the applications are due May 22nd. So it's a very fast turnaround because Congress wants to get the CARES money out into the nonprofits.
That's
So
great.
That's the big thing that I wanted to let you know. So,
and is that on your website for that
It
for
is.
the food pantries to go find?
yeah, they can go to uwwp.org/EFSP 2020 or go to our press release that's on our front page saying that we have $1 million, we are announcing $1 million in grant opportunities.
The other thing, Faith, you can do, if you can just maybe just email me the link.
I will.
Can send it to everybody on the call, and this way they can have it. And if you know of others who may need it or benefit from it, we'd be happy to share that with them as well. But that's a tremendous resource. Obviously, a lot of this is being driven by dollars and what our food pantry are able to afford to buy. And I know a lot of the Yorktown residents just have been so generous with their monetary donations. But to have the support of the United Way in that way would be a great help to us as well.
Right. And also what we're also seeing is the things that are hard to buy in the supermarket, the things that are limited in the supermarket are not available through the food banks because they don't have it. They normally get the surplus of the supermarket. I myself, because I run a food distribution up in Putnam, have actually had to buy from restaurant vendors in bulk to try to then individually wrap to get pasta and rice and things like that and cereal. So like that's a major need for all the, that we're seeing here. If you're, and I would really recommend to the public, if you're going to buy those items because we can only buy in limited quantities. Other than that, please give the money to the food pantries because they can buy so much more through the food banks on, pennies on the dollars. And it can go so much further, by giving the money to the food pantries.
That's great advice. That's absolutely great advice. Let me ask this: what can we do on the town level to engage in this food security conversation? Number one, but number two, what are there policies that we can look to implement or encourage to help support our food pantries? Are there ways for us to connect our food pantries with other resources? I'm curious your thoughts on that, and anyone can answer that question.
Well, I could say, at least for our pantry, we already have great support from the town and always have. First of all, we're based in a town building.
Right.
And you guys grant us space there very economically, obviously. In addition, with that building being closed the last few months, we have not had access to the facilities ourselves. The town employees actually stepped in, especially in March, and bagged all the groceries for us and brought them to the front door so that we could distribute to people driving up. So, big shout out to the town employees for stepping in and helping us do that. I work for the senior center in town, and I deliver Meals on Wheels during the day. That's my job. We have always had a relationship with the senior center with distributing some of these pantry bags to the seniors who get Meals on Wheels. So we are actually able to deliver bags of groceries to homebound seniors through the senior center with their help. So, we have great relationship with the town and a lot of help that really makes a difference for us. I just wanted to throw in that. Probably not the same for the other pantries, but we're certainly appreciative of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Meals on Wheels, and my apologies to our entire at the Senior Nutrition Center for neglecting to mention them. Yourself and Noreen O'Driscoll, who runs our senior nutrition program. You all have just done a tremendous job. I think we're 130 seniors now.
A big uptick there in the Meals on Wheels program. Yes.
Yep. And I think other thing that people don't realize is we also cook food for the town of Somer and their meals program. So, Yorktown has really taken on, a big responsibility during this coronavirus crisis, especially through our senior nutrition program. And you guys have all done, the entire staff has just been absolutely tremendous. And I really want to thank you and Noreen O'Driscoll and all of our staff at the Senior Nutrition Center. And it's not just the staff members of the Senior Nutrition Center. Members of our water department deliver our Meals on Wheels to seniors. We've had elected officials, some in Lachterman, I think Highway Superintendent Paganelli, I think Town Clerk Quast. I think they've been at different points in time to carry some meals to some of our seniors in need. And of course, Margaret Gaspering, who's head of our HR department here. So effort, but again, you've all been on the front lines, and I just want to thank you for all you've done for our homebound seniors and literally saving their lives. So thank you very much on behalf of the entire town. Any other thoughts though on, because I know David's food pantry is a bit anomaly, but for everyone else involved, I mean, is there other things that we, the town government, can be doing to either raise awareness to the food insecurity issues that our neighbors are, or provide greater support or resources to your individual food pantries?
I think maybe tremendous support. I'm sorry, Catherine.
Go ahead, Cindy.
No, I just said I think you've provided tremendous support to all of us, and I think just putting the word out there is a wonderful thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I see it as a bit of a bully pulpit, so I get to we can utilize it the best and to raise awareness and provide exposure to people and to organizations, and I'm happy to do it, especially for our food pantries, which helps so many people. Can I say something?
Yeah, so I was going to echo what Cindy said. I think one of the big things you can do is to just make people aware that, if they need food support, there's no stigma to this. It's what we're here for, and we're here for them. I guess I also want to just I don't know what the right answer is, but one of the biggest burdens for many families is that with schools closed, they're feeding these children 5 or maybe 10 more meals a week than they generally have to. And so it compounds the food problem. And so as we think about how to deal with that, so Dave does a great job for the seniors. Our pantry also delivers to Beaver Ridge and Wynwood Oaks.
Good.
But if there's something we could do, maybe on the school side of it, maybe working with the vendors who normally provide the meals in the schools to help families with this extra meal burden for their children. I don't know. There might be something there.
That's a great idea. And I know that when we first had the schools close, both of our local superintendents, Superintendent Hatter and Superintendent Stone, did have conversations about how we might be able to provide support to those families and those students who rely on our for their meals. And I know that I believe it was Lakeland, Dr. Stone provided an apparatus in that also absorbed the Yorktown students to make sure they were getting the meals that they needed. So I agree with you completely, though. I think that's a great point. Is greater partnership there. Pastor?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the pieces of getting more food out is, I think, recognizing some of the related things, like not everybody has a car to get to the pantries. And so I think it's asking questions that are not simply food, but what's related to getting the food. So that's part of our commitment to senior places, is that we're taking the food to them. I also think it's helpful that the community has a good sense of all three of these pantries, and that they're all very active and working on the same kinds of goals. And then continuing to ask this sort of next question, what's the next thing that we're realizing that food programs force people to choose between dollars for food and dollars for diapers or something like that, so that we don't just think of this as one isolated issue, but an interrelated thing that people are being forced to choose a lot. So I would want to focus on food, but I'd want to keep asking the sort of related questions, because ultimately I think we're trying to lift up the human dignity of people, and that's not. And while food is an important piece of that, it's related to some other issues of poverty. So,
great points. Absolutely great points.
Supervisor, I know I got a call from Ride Connect, which they partnered with Family Services of Westchester.
They are
to provide rides for people if they can't, or to bring food to people if they can't get out to get food. So maybe if the town could promote that some more, would be helpful too.
Yeah, we have their info on the COVID-19 website for the town as one of resources for our seniors. I know that they were willing to do grocery shopping. I think all pharmacy pickups they're willing to do as well.
If they've come and picked up from us for some people that couldn't get out. We've delivered to some people, but we don't really have that many volunteers to do that right now. So they've helped out.
Yeah, but it's a great resource for our seniors to know about and vulnerable neighbors to know about, is the Ride Connect services that are providing. It's funny because I had this is one of the things I just absolutely love about our community. I had so many people who just called and said, how do I volunteer? Where do I volunteer? Tell me, just give me something to do. What would you want me to tell those people for your individual?
Well, for us, we don't have a big need for additional volunteers at the moment, I'd have to say. With the building being closed, the volunteers staff that we have had for many years is chomping at the bit to get back involved. In fact, a couple of them were trying to get over to the Presbyterian pantry to help there, since there wasn't much they could do for us at the moment. So we're pretty good with volunteers at the moment. But then again, we don't have the big rush on food like the other two pantries, thankfully.
Yeah, for us, it's really a quandary. We have cut back by about 50% the number of volunteers that are working at our pantry, so that either when we're packing bags or when we're distributing, we can ensure the correct social distancing for our volunteers.
Right.
And so it's a hard answer when someone calls and says, can't I please come help you? And you say, could you take that as a rain check? We'd be really delighted to see you in like July.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, because I can't tell you how many people have called and asked, where they can go, what they can do. And I'm very hesitant on telling people of different, ways to do that for that exact reason. And I recognize, and I know, Cindy, you've done the same down in St. Mary's, correct? You've scaled back your volunteer base.
A core group of people, and we get calls all the time, and it's wonderful. But I kind of tell them, look to us when this is all over, and we can go back to some sort of normalcy. Because same thing, it's a small building, it's a small area, and we just can't have a whole lot of people.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Yes, Faith.
I apologize. So, a couple things. One, the volunteering to deliver is awesome. And we work with Ride Connect very closely. In fact, we're going to be we're working with them on the grocery shopping aspect of it, and it's a great thing to be able to offer those who are seniors or immune compromised. And they are always accepting more volunteers, which is great. The other thing is, you were asking for suggestions that the town can do.
Please.
A lot of the people who are going to the food pantries have never needed a food pantry before, so they don't even know where to look. So really, it is about them being receptive at the right time. And so if you could keep getting that message out there, that's number one. Number two, promoting the 211 helpline, because we do cover more than just food. We promote all the food insecurity resources that are available. But like they said, it's a holistic matter. If you have a food insecurity, you probably also have a financial insecurity. There's a study that shows that people who have food insecurities are 58 more likely to also have unpaid medical bills. And there's more things that are contributing to them than just being hungry. And so the 211, our call specialists are trained to ask the questions and see what the resources they need are. Do they run the risk of their utilities being turned off? And there's a lot of resources out there. People just need to know to ask about them, and they don't know that.
Yeah, that's a great. And so let me ask this: collectively, how would you like to see the town provide that information? Obviously, forums like conversations like these are great. And I people, and we're going to post this on our Facebook page and our social media outlets as well. It'll be found on our website, streaming live on our website, as well as on our cable access channels. But other than that, ways that we can help promote your missions and access.
One of the things that I remember from it must have been Sandy, when we had the schools closed for 10 days or something, and nobody had any power and nobody knew what was going on. And what ended up happening was that we funneled, in that case, through the school district, town information, because the school district could call all the parents. I think the example now would be a lot of people follow the feed from the police department.
Okay.
They may or may not come to the town website to look for stuff, but a lot of them get it on Facebook or something else. They get the daily feed from the police department. If we could periodically have some of this information in that feed, I think we might reach some additional people.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, I can definitely talk to. What was that, Cindy? I'm sorry?
People follow their Facebook page.
Yes. Very funny, and they're very popular.
I think the other piece of this, though, is as much as we want to promote stuff online, I suspect, given some of Faith's comments and statistics, that we're also talking about some people who can't afford to be online. And so printed material still can be a very helpful thing in a couple of languages, and being able to distribute that is going to be take seriously the group of people that for whom whatever cell phone they have, we don't know the capabilities of that cell phone, let alone the internet connection they have in their homes right now. So and that may sound old school, but I think at some level, finding places to distribute paper is still helpful at times.
And I would also follow that up with at least with our pantry. I assume probably with the other two pantries as well. There's a fair percentage of our clientele that are senior citizens and are not tech savvy, and therefore, getting word to them is not going to be through online generally.
What I was thinking is we can reach out to our friends up in Jefferson Village. I know they do a newsletter that goes out. Yeah. Our Parks and Rec department does a senior newsletter, and so maybe we can include information in those in those correspondence this way, because they get and to your point, Dave, and to Pastor Lowe's point, it's on a screen, so it's reaching a different demographic of people who may not be as technologically as others, or to Pastor Lowe's point, be able to a phone or a computer, unfortunately. But I think that's a great point.
Also, Matt, sorry, but schools are going to be letting out in a month, and summer camps are phase 4 of the unpause. So we need to worry about what's going to happen with the kids' meals once school's out, because they don't necessarily provide meals all summer long. So There's still going to be an issue, and that's something that the town can take on. And I don't even know if the town knows what it's doing with its summer camp yet.
we're going to be making that announcement tomorrow.
Okay.
Matt, another possible way of getting information out to somebody who's not necessarily online might be the town's cable TV channel. As far as I know, you put up a lot of notices there when you don't have an actual taped meeting running or something like that. That would be. I know a lot of seniors watch that channel.
I agree. I completely agree with that sentiment. And it's you're right now live on that channel, so you're talking to them directly, and it'll play for the next couple of days. But I agree, because we do put some other information that we like to flag in, so we can also include that for your individual food pantries as well, and contact information. So this to you, which I think would be very helpful, and I'll work with our fantastic producer in the back to see if we can get that done. But I think that's a great idea. I do. It's fantastic. Well, great. Listen, I think this was a really informative conversation. I think it's just real. Like I said before when we started, I think it's important for folks to realize, that this is not only happening in our community, but we have some great resources in our community to help them overcome these challenges. And you all are providing just critical services, for our neighbors in need. And I really can't thank you all enough for that you're all providing. I mean, if I'm doing the quick math, you're really nearly 500 people a week, 500 families every weekend. You're serving in a sense, and that's just an incredible number and an incredible help community. And I just hope you all know how appreciative we are for all that you're doing. And that's again why I want to have this conversation and see if we can start. What other foundations we can build to enhance those services and enhance the communication and help people know that services are there. And so I really do appreciate everyone taking the time to join me tonight and sharing individual pantries and sharing about what you're seeing on a daily and weekly basis.
Thank you.
Thanks for providing the opportunity.
No problem at all. Kath, some parting words?
Me? No, I don't think so. But this has been great. It's been great to have the conversation, but it's also been great to start building a network across the different pantries. And we might have some discussion kind of going forward strategically. Is there something we can do together more powerfully than separately?
Absolutely. And any way that I can help, facilitate or provide, any support whatsoever in that aspect, a phone call away always. And I'd be more than happy to be involved in that. I know I can just tell you that it's something I'm very passionate about. And so any way that we can help in this endeavor, we provide support. Dave, any words you want to say before we sign off?
Just again, thank you for having us. I think it's, I've always found over the years that there's a lot of Yorktown residents that are totally unaware that there's a food pantry in town, let alone 3, and the scale that we have, and how long we've been doing this. I volunteered for many years over at the Presbyterian Pantry in addition to the one I am running. So I'm familiar with their operation. And the interesting thing, and we do work together when we have information or extra supplies or something like that. But one of the interesting things is I was able to see, because there's no rule saying that somebody can't, if you go to one pantry, you can't go to the other. There's no formal rule about that. And since our pantry is in the middle of the week, it's a different time than the other 2 pantries, which overlap each other. But the interesting thing was that there was very little overlap of clientele. I saw a couple of our clients I would see at the Presbyterian Church, and they would come to ours too, but very few. So it is when you cite that number, it's not the same people running to all 3 pantries. It really is close to 500 families probably that we're serving here, and it's stunning, and it's stunning to us, I think, let alone the people in town that didn't even know we were here.
I think that's the perfect word to describe the situation, and that's stunning. I mean, perfect word to describe it, and that's why I think it's important as a community to be supportive and to act and figure out ways for us to act on a local level. And people are individually doing that, and hopefully, to Catherine's point, we can continue this conversation and continue to strengthen our food pantries. Cindy, did you want to say anything before we signed off?
I just want to thank you again for doing this and for all of the support that you've given us. We really do appreciate it. And it was great to talk with everybody. And I agree with Catherine. Maybe we can get a conversation going where we can help each other more. So thank you.
That'd be great. That would be great. And Pastor Lowe?
I'm just thankful that I could be a part of the conversation, and I'm very thankful for these 3 opportunities and the different ways that we can serve the community together. So thank you all.
Pastor Lowe, we have to stop meeting like this. It seems like
I know.
Town. You and I are by the hip. But thank you for all your help and leadership. I appreciate it. And lastly, Faith from United Way of Westchester Putnam, our good friend.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of the conversation. I hope that I'm able to work with all of you and help you, really reach the your clients and recipients. We just want to help them make better their lives. And, we're here as a resource, and I hope that we are able to continue the conversation. Thank you, Supervisor, for allowing me to be part of this conversation.
Well, again, Faith, don't forget to send me the link, and I'll circulate it to everyone on the call, and we can provide it that we can. And again, to all of our friends in Yorktown, just know that you've got a great community that you live in, cares about you, a community that wants to help you in any way that we can. We're going to continue to forge forward through the virus crisis. And as we've always said, stay safe, stay healthy, be smart, make responsible decisions, and we're going to get through this as quickly as we can. As always, you can contact me at my office on 4962-5722, extension 200, or you can email me directly at yorktownny.org. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you again for joining me. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.